Hey guys, how we doing? So, I've come across a channel called Mother's Basement, which has a few discussion videos about anime and that, because obviously I'm trying to watch interesting anime-related stuff, and this one seemed to pique my interest. It's called What's in a Scene? How SAO Became the Worst Anime Ever. Now, I like watching these things about stuff that I like, because I find it funny. And you know, I don't get all argumentative and angry, and I find it interesting as to why people don't like these things. So we're gonna watch What's in a Scene, How SAO Became the Worst Anime Ever. Let's just get straight into this.
Sword Art Online is ass. OP to ED and everything in between. The whole thing stinks and I hate it.
Oh no.
But I didn't always. As a matter of fact, when the series first started airing, I thought, this is okay. I mean, I've seen better, but I've seen worse too. I'll see where this goes. Somewhere between that and this, though, that stopped being my response to the show. At a certain point, I could no longer form words and was mostly just vomiting blood for the duration of each episode.
Right.
And I'm not alone in that. Pretty much everyone over the age of 12 agrees that this show sucks.
I don't.
What they don't agree on is when it started sucking. When did Sword Art Online get terrible? Some would say it happened when they locked the only likable character in a rape dungeon and made Kirito's sister want to fuck him. Others would point to the gratuitous tentacle rape scene.
That was weird.
Boy, gee whiz, there sure is an excessive amount of sexual assault in this show. Then there's the I told you so camp, who say it was terrible all along.
Oh, no.
And all of the bullshit just made you realize that after the fact. All of them are wrong. All of you are wrong. I'm right. Listen to me.
Oh, God.
There's a precise moment when Sword Art Online goes from being okay to being one of the worst fucking shows ever. And it's all this asshole's fault. Yeah,
What?
you heard me. Your innocent Dadaru ruined fucking everything. Let me explain. In the beginning, Sword Art Online had some stuff going for it. Not a lot, the fight choreography was always pretty bad, the cast was always bland, and the premise was never original, but it had a solid sense of tone. We'd seen trapped in an MMO stories before, but never with this kind of horror tinge to them. The world of Aincrad had this oppressive air hanging over it.
Yeah.
From very early on, there was this sense that just about anyone could die at any moment. The first few episodes do a great job of establishing that. And while it didn't break any new ground in terms of character writing, it had some good standalone episode plots, like the one where all Kirito's friends got murdered.
Yeah, that was...
And the whole murder mystery thing, where they're trying to figure out how somebody was breaking the rules of the game, and actually, those were the only really interesting episodes, but hey, lots of okay shows have had less. The main thing that the show had going for it early on was that underlying sense of threat. It felt like something where nobody, except for this one guy, was ever really safe. Nobody important died after the first few episodes, but that was fine for a while. If the show was kill-happy all the time, that would be a problem in itself. You've got to pace these things. It's hard to get attached when characters are going in and out through a revolving door.
Very difficult.
Still, by episode 10, there had been enough near misses that it seemed like Kirito and his harem might be a little too invulnerable. It seemed like the right time to kill someone off to raise the stakes. It's at this point that they chose to introduce Yui. If you don't know, congratulations! You've saved yourself from a shitty show. But Yui is a little girl who Kirito and Asuna find wandering around the woods near their home and decide to adopt as their daughter. She's sweet and innocent and might as well be walking around with a timer counting down to her sad death. Now, it's cheap and lazy enough to introduce a pure cinnamon roll character purely for the sake of killing them off, but that's not nearly bad enough writing on its own to drag this show down to the total dog shit territory it now occupies.
Oh, no.
The bigger problem with this is tied to what Yui is. See, Yui is actually a fully sentient AI, which means that she's the only character in the entire cast who, if killed, could be brought back. And that's very, very bad for the show, because if Yui dies and is then brought back, that renders the threat of death from a narrative standpoint permanently meaningless. And remember, as of this episode, that's the only interesting thing about SAO. Death in media isn't interesting because, oh, they're dead, that's sad, I'm sad. It's interesting because it inherently changes the dynamics of a story. A character
it can change characters,
in the narrative now isn't. Any arc that they might have been going through is cut abruptly short. And from this point forward, the writers can't rely on their presence to move the story forward or build up other characters. Most stories never pull that trigger, and I'm cool with that because, like I said, it's hard to write around. I'm okay with the show being a little toothless as long as the story is engaging and the characters are fun. And there are plenty of ways to make your characters suffer without killing them off. But when a show acts like death means something and then does something that very transparently reveals that the writers aren't willing to sacrifice potential plot lines, it's like watching Mickey Mouse take his head off at Disneyland. It ruins the magic. There are rules.
Wow, okay, yeah, this is very valid.
If a character dies and is brought back, you might as well write, and then they got on a bus for a couple of weeks, for all the fucking difference it makes. So obviously, when the show was airing, I was really dreading this prospect. I was hoping that the show would pull something out of left field, maybe fake me out and kill Asuna or Kirito off, instead of do the stupid, obvious thing that it was definitely going to do. But then, of course, I got to the end of episode 12, and I watched Kirito and Asuna mourn for little baby Skynet, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
No.
It was worse!
Oh no.
They don't just kill Yui off in the most trite way possible. They do it while immediately undercutting all of the dramatic weight of the moment. Because as Yui is being deleted, Kirito pulls some techno-wizardry out of his ass
And
to store her in an inventory item. And because of that dumb Dragon Feather episode, we know that means she's coming back. They could at least have left it ambiguous as to whether or not they could bring her back, but nope! Can't let anyone think their waifu might not come back.
Yeah.
They might stop watching and giving us money. But even that isn't the most asinine thing about this scene. In this moment, as they reach the Game Master's console in the depths of this dungeon, Kirito reveals the heretofore unknown fact that he's a PhD-level programmer, thus irreparably ruining his character forever. Kirito was already stupidly overpowered, but at least it made a bit of sense. He was a beta tester, so his base skill level being higher than most other players was justified. And doing kendo in real life gave him good reflexes. And he spent like the first year of the game solo queuing instead of socializing to reach his ridiculously high experience.
So yeah, you can,
That became less believable as he also proved to apparently be the most eligible bachelor on the entire internet, but you can at least justify that as girls having a crush on him for saving their lives rather than that coming down to any innate social skill on his part. It's easy to justify a lot of things about Kirito because he has no defined personality at all. But when you add to those traits the fact that he's got the scripting skills to not just hack the game from inside it, but to custom write code in the space of a few seconds to store data as an in-game object, I've got to call bullshit. Hacking games requires time and at least some knowledge of the source code. There's no way Kirito has that. Even if the 1,000 or so carefully selected beta testers for SAO were data mining the shit out of the game, they only had it for a little over a month during summer vacation, and they only saw a fraction of the content. It would be hard to get a full picture of how the game works in that time frame under normal circumstances. But SAO is also the first game of its kind, built from the ground up for incredibly complicated, brand new proprietary hardware. So already, Kirito's doing something that nobody outside the company should know how to do. But even if we assume that there's a command already in place to store a script as an in-game object, think about what he's storing. Yui is a fucking AI, the most complicated kind of program conceivable. Her code needs to be immense to account for the broad variety of situations she might need to deal with. And it also needs to be capable of rewriting itself on the fly in real time. Kirito is taking that huge, complex code, saving its current state of operation, and converting that information into a custom item in a game whose script he must be figuring out in real time, all in the space of a few seconds. No! Not fucking possible! In this moment, Kirito ceases to be a real human being, and I lose all suspension of disbelief for this entire show. It's just not believable that any person could be capable of pulling off the shit that we've seen him do up to this point. Maybe some of it, but not all of it, and especially not a 14-year-old fucking child! Also, as if he wasn't special enough already, the scene establishes a few moments earlier that he and Asuna are the only people to ever experience love or joy in SAO during the entire 2 years that the game has been running. This is so fucking stupid it hurts! This scene amazes me for how thoroughly it manages to ruin the entire show. It would be bad enough to ruin the whole story by implicitly admitting that they never plan to kill off anyone who's had any kind of character development ever again, unless dying is part of their story arc. But in doing so, they also manage to make it impossible to relate to their protagonist. From this point forward, the show has no dramatic stakes. It can't have any. Kirito's been established to be able to do basically anything, and we now know for a fact that no one important will ever really die. And if you want to nitpick, this scene raises a ton of questions, too. The big one being,
this video
why?
is very
Why
valid.
is that what Kirito did with his back-end access? If he had the time to isolate a huge complex program and store it as environmental data and write a custom script to save that file to his personal computer, why didn't he, I don't know, globally reactivate the game's logout function? He had access to the fucking source code, and that would have been a lot simpler. There was probably just one value he needed to set from true to false, or maybe a few lines of code that had been commented out. Comparatively speaking, it would have been easy, and he'd have been saving, I don't know, upwards of like 7,000 people's lives.
God.
But no, preserving his wife's Tamagotchi is a lot more important than that. There's been a lot of complaining in this video, and not a lot of hard analysis, but that's because there's not much in this scene to analyze. This is one of the most flat, boring scenes that I've ever watched in anything. Every shot is static and dull, especially the obvious, predictable reaction shots that it uses to ham-fistedly attempt to tug at your heartstrings. And the set is a blank, white room with nothing going on. There's basically nothing to even look at here. That said, if nothing else, I guess I can take solace in the fact that nobody was even trying when they made the scene that ruined the whole show. But, you know, that's just, like, my opinion, man. And if you like Sword Art Online and don't think it was ever ruined, then please go to class like a good kid and stop telling me to kill myself. I'm probably not gonna do it, and you're wasting a lot of time that you could be spending contributing nothing to society. Although if you want to leave a comment that's not, like, actually an indictable offense in Canada, feel free. This really is just my opinion, and I like to see people disagree with me, as long as they're not complete fucking psychos about it. On the other hand, if you don't like SAO, then you might like watching me tear into its OPs in this video on the left, assuming that you haven't seen it already, which pretty much everyone watching this probably has. Or on the right, you can check out my thoughts on the much better Tomohiko Ito show, Erased. And if you like this video, or those, and you want to see more like them, then please hit that subscribe button and follow me on Twitter at G0FF2 for regular updates on everything I'm making. Thank you for watching, and thank you especially if you're one of the kind people on Patreon who enables me to do this nonsense. This is all your fault, and I love you for it. You're amazing. Keep being beautiful. Never watch SAO. This is Jeff Thu, professional shitbag, signing out from my mother's basement.
That was brilliant. That was like, I can't argue. Everything he said was very valid. That was funny. I love it when people rant in a comedic way. It's brilliant. Yeah. I'm gonna check out more of Mother's Basement's videos, because that was very, very interesting. Like, wow. Not much to say. So, yeah, thank you very much for watching. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. I'll see you guys, yes, all of you guys, next time.